In this video, we're going to see several concepts related to investing and financing in the company. You may think these are very different things, but you will see in the end they are the two sides of the same coin. It's very important you pay attention and you understand these concepts because they are the basis to understand variables and other ratios we're going to learn how to calculate a little bit later, and that will allow you understanding how is the financial situation in the company and how to improve it. We're going to start with the concept of an investment. What is investing? Investing is placing a capital in an activity to get a return. When we're talking about placing a capital and getting a return, we're talking about profitability. But we will understand this ratio and we will study it a little bit later in another video. What you need to know now is that there are two different interpretations of an investment. The first one is the economic interpretation. In the economic interpretation, the company is buying an asset to produce. So the company is buying a machine, is buying a building, is buying land, is buying whatever they are going to need to produce. This is investment, the economic interpretation of investment. On the other side, you have a financial interpretation of an investment. For making that purchase, for buying that asset, the company needs some money. That's why they create a financial document, a bond, a share, any financial document that they can sell in the market, and people who have money buy it. This way, people are buying the company document and they are giving the company the money that the company needs in order to buy the asset. This is the financial interpretation of an investment. There are many classifications that can be related to investments. It all depends on the variable you want to use in order to classify them. We're going to see a few of them. The first one depends on the temporality. We have what we call operational investments, and those are investments that are made in a short term. And then we have the permanent investments, and those ones are made in a long term. Depending on the reason to make the investment, we have investments related to renovation. In this case, we have one machine that is already old and we remove it and buy a new one to replace it, to do exactly the same thing in the same way. Then we have growth investments. These ones imply that, for example, I have two machines and I buy a new one, so now I have three. I have a bigger company. And when I say machine, I mean it can be a machine, it can be a building, it can be anything that makes the company bigger, that it's added to the assets of the company. Then we have what we call modernization or innovation. In this case, we're talking about improving the technology. And when we improve the technology, we use less resources to do the same, we do the same in less time, we're more efficient doing it, or we get a product with a better quality or additional characteristics that can be interesting for our customers. Then we have research and development, and this is a whole new chapter. I'm not going into it right now, okay? But this would be like a whole lesson to talk about it. And in the end, we have the social investments that are related to improve the situation of the employees or doing some kind of investment that the society is going to get benefits from it. Depending on the relation with the productive process, we have technical or financial investments. A technical investment is one that you use to produce, while a financial investment is related to get a financial profit from it. So companies can buy shares, can buy bonds, can buy any financial asset, any financial document in order to get interest, in order to get dividends or any other economical profit. In this case, we can have the current financial investments, which are the short term, 1 year or less, and the non-current ones that are in the long term, this means more than 1 year. And finally, we have a classification depending on the complementarity. We have substitutive investments and complementary investments. Substitutive means they replace one each other. So you take one out and you put one in. And complementary means that it complements another machine or any other thing we already have in the company. Companies have a tool called budget in order to buy things and to use the resources properly. A budget is not like the shopping list. You don't just place eggs, milk, and bread and all the things you want to buy. It has to be a little bit more detailed and it has to include several things in order to be properly prepared to use the resources of the company. So the first thing is explaining what is the company going to do. And then who is going to do it? What are the persons that are going to do it? When are they doing it? What are the resources they need? Do they need this machine? Do they need a transport element? What do they need exactly to do it? And what are the expected results? We will study a little bit more about these resources involved and the expected results and so on when we reach the lesson in which we will deal with the investment selection criteria. This duality between the financial and the economic interpretation of an investment is reflected in a balance sheet. In a balance sheet, you have two sides, the left and the right. On the left side, we have the assets. The assets represent the economic part, what you're going to buy, what the company is buying, okay, a building, a machine, a transport element, whatever. And on the liabilities, you have the money to buy those things, or the money the company has used to buy them. However, there has to be some kind of equilibrium, some kind of balance between total assets and total liabilities. And total amount has to be exactly the same. So this duality at the end becomes only one thing. The total things you have, total assets, have to be paid with the total money you have, total liabilities. We will have another video specifically dedicated to the balance sheet and its components. But before finishing today, I want you to think about this equilibrium we're talking about. In the balance sheet, you have things, assets, that are staying for the long term in the company. And you also have money for the long term. And on the other hand, you have assets, things that are staying short term and short-term money. So the equilibrium is going to be related to pay long-term assets with the long-term money and short-term assets with the short-term money. I hope this helps and see you in the next video.